The Indian women's cricket team pulled off a magnificent 52-run victory over South Africa in the ODI World Cup final. India were the favourites, but this victory didn't come easy. It was hard fought. The South Africans, also looking for their maiden title, weren't giving up easily, especially captain Laura Wolvaardt, who made a superb century, but it went in vain. For India, or women's cricket in India, this was a breakthrough moment. Remember, this was the third time that India had entered the final of the ODI World Cup. In 2005, they had been beaten by Australia. In 2017, they were beaten by England. And it seemed that this title was elusive, any world title in fact, because India had also reached the T20 World Cup final in 2020 where they lost to Australia. So it seemed like there was a hoodoo about how India would win or not win this tournament. And it looked like the ineptitude of making that or taking that final step towards glory would elude the Indian team again when they had a mid-tournament stutter. They lost 3 matches on the trot to South Africa, Australia and England, and it seemed that the old demons had come back into play. India emerged from that crisis, mid-tournament crisis, in great style. And then obviously they went on to reach the knockout and beat Australia in a pulsating semi-final, chasing a record score. And that's where obviously the trajectory of India's campaign changed. Beating Australia was the big jump. The big obstacle had been conquered. Australia had been long-time nemesis of the Indian team. Every time there was a major tournament that emerged, India would do well against the other teams, but succumb to the Australians. The skill, the expertise, the never say die attitude of the Aussies always seemed to get the better of the Indian team. And it seemed that when Australia had posted 338 in the semi-final, that this time too India would perhaps not make the cut. But that run chase completely changed the perspective. Obviously, it eliminated Australia from the equation. It brought in South Africa. South Africa, remember, had beaten India in the group stage, so they weren't easy pickings, but they were not the opponents that India would have kind of been a little more apprehensive about playing in the final. Having said that, a final is a final, and as I mentioned at the start, the South Africans did extremely well. On paper and in terms of the balance of the team, the composition of the team, the talent available, the resources available, in terms of the kind of depth that the Indian team had in batting, bowling, all-rounders, etc., they were superior to the South Africans. So it was up to the Indians to make the play and go on and clinch the title. The South Africans were the underdogs. In that sense, the pressure was lesser on them than on the Indian team. And the Indians performed as they were expected to, making 298 on the DY Patil Stadium. It seemed that they might have fallen 25-30 runs short, but given the bowling resources that they have, especially the spinners, it proved to be adequate. Wolvaardt apart, the South African batting just lacked that depth and muscle which the Indian team had. For the penny to drop at certain places for any team to win, you need a little stroke of luck or a stroke of genius. And that came through Harmanpreet Kaur's decision to bring in Shefali Verma to bowl. Part-time bowler. She picked up 2 wickets in two overs and just changed the trajectory of the game. And then Deepti Sharma, a renowned, very experienced, very seasoned all-rounder, she came in and picked up a fiver. Remember, Deepti Sharma, this is the kind of quality that the Indian team possesses and which is what led India to a win. So the batting prowess apart, Smriti Mandhana, Jemima Rodrigues, Harmanpreet Kaur, that apart, India's batting strength, especially from the lower order, was the key to India's success. Not just in the final, but also in the semi-final against Australia and a few matches earlier. In the final, Deepti Sharma made a run ball 58 and then picked up 5 wickets. Richa Ghosh played some lusty blows, played a cameo, but it became very important. Ultimately, when you look at the equation, India winning by 52 runs, you take away the contributions of Deepti Sharma, Richa Ghosh and some of the other lower order players, and you realize how close this match really was. a breakthrough moment for Indian cricket, not just women's cricket, but for Indian cricket, because apart from whatever the Indian team has been achieving in the men's section, now you got an ICC trophy in the cabinet for the women's section too. This achievement is magnificent, and it's got a lot of gravitas. It's got a lot of consequences, ramifications. In my opinion, it's akin to 1983 when Kapil Dev's team beat the mighty West Indies and India won the World Cup, and it just changed the game, the sport in India as well as globally. It just left such a deep imprint on the psyche of the Indians that, cricket was always a very popular sport. It just catapulted into becoming an obsession, even a religion. And I see something like that happening even with women's cricket. The ramifications of this win by Harmanpreet Kaur and Jemima and Smriti Mandhana and the whole lot is going to have a huge impact. And not just on women's cricket. I think it'll have it'll have massive consequences where gender equality in sport is concerned. Not just in terms of payments, money earned, etc., but in young girls in India going out to try and play sports and achieve that level of excellence which gets them and the country glory. So that's going to be the consequence of this victory as I see it. The architects of India's victory, I've mentioned a few in the match kind of summary, but we have to look at Smriti Mandhana, second highest scorer in the World Cup, Deepti Sharma, highest wicket taker in the tournament, Jemima Rodrigues, who played a tour de force against Australia, 127 not out. What in a pulsating match, high pressure, what a superb innings to play. Harmanpreet Kaur came under a lot of flack for some of her captaincy decisions, but as I mentioned earlier, promoting Jemima to number 3 in the semi-final, then bringing in Shefali Verma to bowl in the final. You needed a calm and calculated approach in very tense situations, and Harmanpreet Kaur, who also had a couple of very good knocks with the bat, she went on and achieved that. So all in all, this has been a terrific campaign for the Indian women's team. Winning the World Cup is the pinnacle in this sport, ODI World Cup. There are other formats and those are also important, but winning this World Cup, which has proved so elusive, has just helped the Indian women's cricket team take a massive step upwards in the echelons of the game. It's been a 50 years plus journey for Indian women's cricket in India from the time they played their first international match, which was in 1976. And that 5-decade journey has been long, arduous, torturous, often frustrating, lots of hardships. And now they've reached a stage where they are recognized as champions. And what can be better than that? For more such analysis, head on to the Quint website and become a member to support the work. Follow the link in the description.